It's the Paris Chong Show. It's the Paris Chong Show, show. It's the Paris Chong Show. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning back in to the Paris Chong Show. I'm here today with one of the most incredible and talented photographers that I know, and I'm very excited to be working with him soon. This is Matthew Rolston.
Hi, Paris.
Hi, Matthew.
Thanks for having me.
I feel like my dog's still in the room, but I'm not sure. So I'm excited to host you, coming up in the fall. But before we get into all of that good stuff, we're going to start talking about your photography career. And we'll start with the question of your editorial photography, because that's kind of how you started, right?
Yeah, I really started in magazine work. That was my world, my dream.
Yeah.
And I worked for Interview magazine. That was my big break because of Andy Warhol discovering
That's like a
me.
huge break.
That was a huge break. We'll talk about that story. And that led to Jan Wenner, who was the founder of Rolling Stone, who then hired me because he honestly copied everything that Andy did back then. So if Andy thought something was cool, then Jan wanted that.
Yeah.
And then I started to work for entertainment clients. And my first entertainment clients were Michael Jackson and Madonna at the same time.
Wow.
And I'd met them through editorial assignments.
Yeah.
And they were the most famous people in the world. It's hard to remember that, but it was more of a monoculture back then. If you were famous on that level, it was everywhere.
And the photos are gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Not like today. And then I worked for my dream, Harper's Bazaar, and then the New York Times Magazine, and a whole bunch of other things. And one thing led to another.
Mm-hmm. Who was easier to shoot, Madonna or Michael Jackson?
They're both absolutely, in Michael's case, still is Madonna, incredible performers, incredible people in front of a camera. What more could you want? I mean, these are the superstars for a reason. So it was just wonderful to have that level of talent to document or in my case, interpret, because I'm not really a documentarian. I'm more of even those early portraits were sort of conceptual.
Mm-hmm.
They had ideas behind them.
So did you always come up with the idea for the artist, or did they come up with the idea?
I did. Unlike today, where the artists have total control,
Yeah.
the world then was very different. And photographers were expected in my realm to interpret the star through choices like wardrobe, lighting, the style of the photograph, and a lot of things. And I always have believed in looking sort of around the corner, like what's next for that performer? How can we show that performer in a way that's different than they've already been seen? How can I make my photograph a kind of entertainment experience all by itself? So that takes intuition and, of course, research. Research is job number one on any creative job. So I would have researched what they were up to, what they'd done before I met them, and et cetera. And at the time that I photographed Madonna, I had this feeling that she was like an old-time movie star, and that's how I wanted to photograph her, and that she was a kind of a temptress and playing with gender. She was as powerful as a man, but ultra-feminine in her presentation. I thought, who does that remind me of? Who was ultra-feminine and masculine at the same time in old Hollywood? And boom, Marlene Dietrich in a top hat, in the movie Morocco. So I did a kind of a photograph that was a concept with her dressed in drag, 1930s style, with marcelled hair and holding a cigarette, dressed like Marlene Dietrich in a suit and tie, in a set of backstage. And I photographed it with the 8x10 camera, because that was true to that period of the 30s that I know a lot about and admired so much. And so that was a kind of commentary on her stardom. And in that picture, written on the mirror behind her of this fake dressing room, it said, "I changed my mind, good luck," which is a direct quotation from a still of Dietrich in Morocco, which has another long story attached to it. But it was a way of the picture telegraphing to the audience from Madonna, through me, you might think you know me, but you don't, because I changed my mind. Good luck. So there's a lot of little Easter eggs built into those early pictures for Interview magazine, commissioned by Andy. They had a lot to do with constructed identity. They had a lot to do with the nature of fame and Hollywood. It's interesting that it wasn't until 6 years later that Madonna returned to that look that I introduced her to for David Fincher's Vogue video, which was a Dietrich and DiMaggio. I mean, she went fully there, and it was fantastic. But
she copied you.
I wouldn't say she copied me. We all build on everything around us. That's totally normal. But I would say that I may have been an influence,
Yeah.
on that. And Michael Jackson, an interesting thing happened there as well. I photographed him a great deal, actually, at his request. And he called me up in those early years and he said, Matthew, I want you to photograph me as a king on a throne, the crown. I said, that sounds great. So we built a set of a throne room and got incredible costumes from Western Costume, which was Paramount Studios, and fully did that. The picture's pretty well known. He's wearing the crown at kind of a rakish angle.
I
He
remember.
looks so handsome. I didn't understand the reason why he wanted that, but I was happy to do it. It was a great idea. I didn't know that he was already building his legend as the king of pop. He is the person that came up with that.
Yeah.
And the first person to say that in public, the first time those words were said, was Elizabeth Taylor a few years later at the Soul Train Music Awards when they were best friends. Remember Michael was palling around with Bubbles the Chimp and Elizabeth Taylor for a few years? It's a great combination. And she came out, she said, I want to introduce my friends, I'm paraphrasing, the king of pop, Michael Jackson. Well, he put those words in her mouth. And so this was all part of a gesturing towards that. And just my opinion, I'll never know. I think it was an Elvis.
Well, for sure it was an Elvis thing, because even Elvis had a monkey. Remember Elvis had a monkey? I heard Elvis had a monkey. I forgot his monkey's name, but the monkey used to run around and drink everyone's martinis and look up all the girls' skirts. I don't know. I remember seeing something like that. So I think he wanted to be, and he was obsessed with Elvis and Lisa Marie Presley, and they both were the king. And
so king of rock and roll, king of pop. There's no question in my mind.
I think when you bring up Prince, I'm not that's what I'm thinking, because you also shot Prince, but Michael Jackson and Madonna and Prince. You shot Prince, which I love the Prince photo.
Thank you.
They're kind of like the main, from that era where I think we both come from. They're like the main people from that era. Maybe Boy George and Cyndi Lauper, but it's really was like Prince, Madonna, and Prince and Michael Jackson are no longer with us. I think that the world is going to lose their minds when something happens to Madonna. I really do. And she's been getting a lot of slack now because of the way she looks, but I don't think people are going to realize what a huge musical influence she's been on our planet, and how much she really is loved. You know what I mean? Because some people didn't even. People that were talking badly about Michael Jackson were devastated when he passed away. I think it's going to be like that for Madonna, and she is only the only other person that's on that level as Michael Jackson and Prince to me personally.
Well, in that period, I really photographed a who's who of the 80s, thanks to Jan.
Which was the best era.
Well, thanks to Jan Wenner for all those covers that I did. I think I did almost 100 Rolling Stone covers. People say, how could you do 100 Rolling Stone covers? Well, people forget it was published twice a month.
Yeah, I've thought I've read 200 covers. Yeah, no, that's
200
incredible.
Commercials as a director, 100 music videos. I mean, I was very, very busy over many decades, but it was a who's who. It's when you're close to it, you don't realize that. It's only till afterwards that you go, oh, wow, I really did touch them. So Cyndi Lauper's on that list. Boy George is on that list. Annie Lennox is on that list. Sade. George Michael. If you name a star,
I mean, and George Michael. That was what cover are you most proud of from the Rolling Stones?
From Rolling, I'm proud of. I'm always proud of any great assignment, not because of my work, because of the nature of how it fits into pop culture history, not because of anything that I did. But I am, for that reason, proud of being the person to shoot the first U2 cover.
Oh, wow. And also, I wasn't expecting you to say that.
And also Bono's first solo cover.
Oh.
There were a lot of firsts.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of those. And I really, really like those gentlemen. Bono is a fantastic human being, as he's shown himself to be. And whatever you might feel or want to quibble about Madonna's behavior, etc., she really stood up for gender display, diversity. She really did. She stood behind the AIDS movement. She stood behind accepting sexuality as part of our lives and the freedom that means. So she fought for a lot of things. She still does. And I
love Madonna.
I mean, you have to admire her for that.
I'm a huge
the million hits and innovating in music video like nobody else. I got to direct one of her music videos, which is
Which one?
Pretty wonderful. It's called The Power of Goodbye.
Oh, wow.
And it was a kind of, I've been called out online for it
Yeah.
because, the sources are there, but it was very clear to many people that I was quoting from the Thomas Crown Affair, the original one with Faye Dunaway,
Mhm.
and also from a Joan Crawford movie called Humoresque, where her character in Humoresque, Joan's character, is a tragic woman because she has more power than men.
Okay.
And she needed to die or be punished
Huh.
in 1940s movie logic. But
Wow.
not today.
Yeah,
And
no, things have
Madonna,
changed a lot, you
well,
know?
Madonna stands for power over men.
Yeah, but I think that's her jam. I think she gets off on that. But
Yeah,
now and what cover are you most proud of from Interview? Because Interview was insane.
I did quite a few. I really love the one of Cyndi Lauper in a jeweled headdress that
That's a
looks
gorgeous.
very much like a 1920s glamour picture, but
Hmm.
updated to pop, 80s pop
She looks like she's wearing a
sensibilities.
chandelier on her head.
She does. She really does. We found that in a bit. My stylist, Raymond Lee, found that in a bin at Western Costume.
I love it.
That was the repository of all the old costumes from every Paramount movie. And we discovered many years later that that headdress was worn by Anita Ekberg in a kind of commercial sexy comedy with Jerry Lewis called
Okay.
Hollywood or Bust. And someone showed me the still of that. I went, oh my God, that is the headdress, the one and only. And she was playing kind of a joke on a Mata Hari
Yeah.
kind of character. But I didn't know that at the time. I was really quoting pre-glamour 20s, like Mae Murray.
Yeah.
All those 20s deco
It's a
stars.
gorgeous photo.
They wore those huge headdresses.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever shot Cher, Sonny Bono, or Chastity?
I have shot Cher on many occasions.
You have?
And that's somebody
love
that
her.
I'm very fond of.
Oh,
What
she's
just
incredible.
great person, stand-up human, and a great artist.
Mhm.
And glamour. Oh my God, those Bob Mackie years, and I love Bob Mackie.
Oh, who
He is the
doesn't?
most wonderful human, and what they did together all those years is amazing.
He did Carol Burnett's clothes too, right?
Oh,
That's how.
yeah.
Yeah, he was insane.
And Tina Turner,
I'd
and
love
let's
a
not
Bob
forget
Mackie.
Anne Margaret. He was so kind. He loaned me some Tina Turner dresses and uh, Anne Margaret dresses from the 70s for a Beyonce video.
Wow.
I just called him up because I've
Wait a
known
second.
him.
Those girls don't look like they'd be the same size dress to me, but okay.
It seemed to work out.
It did?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah, they were little mini dresses covered in beads. But I
Oh,
wanted the real thing. I wanted the
yeah.
history. I wanted to take that mantle and let Beyonce inhabit that, and she wanted it too. And I think
When was
they met.
that?
Oh, it was a long time ago. I think it was maybe for the Work It Out video. Uh, I get confused. I've done so much work to remember the titles and names and years.
Is there
tough.
anyone that's escaped you that's on your bucket list that you wish you would have photographed?
Well, I don't do that anymore. I don't
I
do
know, but
editorial
I'm just saying,
photography.
is there someone when you look back, like, oh, I wish I would have got a photo of
I
that
wish I
person?
could have photographed Tilda Swinton just for the
Oh
chance to meet
God,
her because
she's
she's so
amazing.
gorgeous and a woman of
I
incredible
think
style.
I've shared this story before on this show. She was in the room when my son's father proposed to me in Paris. It was just her and her date and me and my ex, and while he proposed, and she said, "Congratulations."
That's good.
I was like, "Oh my God, Tilda Swinton just said congratulations at me."
But
Yeah, she's a beauty.
she's incredibly fascinating looking, and I like
Mhm.
what she stands for. I like that I know of, and I love that from her things that she said, and being interviewed and such. And I like the films that she's chosen to portray, even some of the more commercial choices. I just think she's phenomenal.
She's incredible. Okay, so now, so you did your editorial advertising. Let's talk a little bit about your music videos.
Well, we haven't really talked about advertising because that
Okay,
was
let's go back to advertising. I'm gonna
we
go
talked
back.
we talked about editorial, but that, the way it worked back then was that you got published in magazines and your name was on the page.
Yeah.
That's how it used to work. And that was a kind of call out to the advertising world, like get that person.
Yeah.
They had a lot of credits and took some interesting pictures because I've always loved faces and beauty and glamour. Naturally, the cosmetic companies started to
Yeah.
knock on my door. And I ended up working a great deal for every cosmetic company, but particularly, over 10 years of consistent work for Revlon and all their other brands. Revlon at that time had 6 other brands,
Mhm.
Ultima, Almay. I worked all the Revlon brands and a great many jobs for L'Oréal and Maybelline, and this took me to Europe to do jobs. I at one point around 1990, I remember I started in 79. I was fairly well established, and I was at that time what I would call tri-coastal. I was on a constant circuit between LA, New York, and Paris.
Nice.
Uh, and I was shooting editorial in Paris, fashion 6 times a year for Harper's Bazaar. I was shooting a lot of advertising and editorial in New York and LA. LA was the entertainment center. New York was the advertising center. Sometimes these projects all blended together.
Yeah. And the advertising was the best money, right? Back in the day.
Well, that was the trade-off. You got paid nothing or even financed your editorial
Yeah.
shoots yourself, so they
Oy.
look great as showcase. And then along came the advertising clients, and they were kind of like the patrons to
Yeah.
me. I looked at it that way. Like they were the Medicis
Yes.
that gave me the space to pursue this gentleman's profession, or gentlewoman's profession, which was no money for editorial, for
Mhm.
magazines like Interview that had a budget of like, -1.
Yeah.
And it was a pleasure to do that. So one fed the other. And then when I got into the MTV era, same thing. I didn't really make money making music videos. But if you can remember at MTV, there was that little information block with the name of the artist, name of the song,
Yeah.
name of the director. Same thing.
That's how you got more jobs.
MTV was on 24/7 in every advertising art director's office that had anything to do with glamour, fashion, or entertainment. And they would see my name and I'd get the call, and one thing led to another.
I loved MTV when it first came out. It was insane.
It was,
I'll never forget that.
I think that also again speaks to the monoculture.
Yeah.
Like kids went home
To
from
watch
school
MTV.
to watch Total Request Live.
Uh-huh.
And you had this like kind of competition. It was your video in the top 10, and sometimes I had more than one in the top 10. I think it was the moment when I had number 1 and number 2, and all the other directors that I knew of my cohort, we were all kind of competing with each other.
Mhm.
And that all led to quite a bit of work. I sometimes had jobs where I did everything. I did some of the creative copywriting on the advertising because I understood the voice of that artist. I had a relationship with them, so the agency wanted me to help with that, to get the tone right. I'd be shooting 2 sets on a big stage, one for the commercial, one for the music video, and a third one maybe for stills.
That's crazy.
Maybe even a fourth one to record wild lines for radio, because that's what we had. We didn't have social media.
Yeah.
It was pretty monolithic. We had outdoor, which was, posters and billboards, print ads in magazines, radio and television. And music video was a kind of thing in between promotion and creative, because it was a creative endeavor, but it was there to sell an artist.
Do you miss those days?
No, I don't.
No.
No, I love now. If you ask me when I'm happy, it's always now.
Yeah.
This is the greatest time in my life, and that was the greatest time in my life.
I know, and I know you love teaching too.
Teaching is something that I do now that I've been doing it for 10 years. First of all, teaching is learning.
Yeah.
There's no question on so many levels, but it's very, very rewarding. I do it in a very intimate way, only 8 students at a time at Art Center. They're hand selected by and recommended by other people in the college, department heads, other instructors, sometimes other students have taken the class.
Well, Ash loved you. She was like, he's amazing.
She was a great
She's a
student.
doll,
My students are amazing. So one thing I created a scholarship. That's how it started.
Okay.
I got to a certain point where there were enough resources. I had to think what I'm going to do with them. And my dad was advising me. My dad is no longer living, but he was a business attorney. And we had to do my first will ever, my first estate plans, is way back when. And I said, well, I want to leave money to Art Center to create a scholarship. And he said, Matt, the only person that ever called me Matt is my dad. He said, Matt, why do you want to do that after you're dead? You can't have any fun with it. They'll be 6 feet under. Do it now. So I said, okay, I'll do that.
That's cool.
So I did it. And then about a year or two.
Though,
right? Yeah, and it's very good
advice.
advice. And a year or two later, he said, okay, Matt, how's it going with that scholarship at Art Center? And I said, oh, Dad, I don't know. I don't feel much for it. They're obliged to write me a thank you note and include a few pictures. And I don't really feel connected to that at all. He said, you need to change that. Why don't you consider giving mentoring optionally to the students? Just get involved. So I did that. And one thing led to another, and it was very successful. What I basically did was invite my mentee, my scholarship recipient, to shadow me on my job. I said, you're not going to get a job on the production putting out paper plates for lunch. You're not going to learn anything from that. You're going to be glued by my side. You're going to have a chair next to my chair. Say nothing. Ask me questions. Or better yet, take your camera and make a documentary and show me your questions. after a lunch break, whatever, but I want you in every meeting. I want you next to me. I want you to understand what I'm doing, what the process is, what the choices are, etc. And that was very successful. So then the college, the then chairman of the film department, this is during a period where I was really transitioning from just photography into photography and directing. So I was very involved in film. Would you ever teach at Art Center? We would love for you to write an original course. That's what people do. We don't hire teachers. We hire professionals, and they teach what they know. And you know some very unique things, and we see that that's working great with your scholarship students. And the answer was no, years, no, ask no, because I was just too busy.
Yeah.
And I also was very, very self-involved with my career, and I didn't really want to share my secrets. Are you kidding? These are, I'm not showing how we make the donuts.
I know.
But then it changed.
Secret sauce recipe for you,
Yeah,
kid.
then it changed, and I really didn't want to do the commercial practice anymore. I wasn't enjoying it. I'll tell you why if you ask me later. And I decided it was time to give my knowledge to the next group of people. I didn't know, because I'd never written a class before, how much work that was to write 14 lectures in a syllabus. It took me a year and a half.
Jeez.
And
I don't know if I could do that.
It's called The Power of Pleasure. There's a website for it. We can put it in the show notes, and people can go look at the student work from that class. It's amazing. It's not photography. Oh, Matthew Rolston, photographer. You must teach photography. No, I do not teach photography, and I don't want to. I teach communication. Communications that surround fashion, beauty, and luxury. And I use fragrance as the vehicle.
Smart.
So my students create spec ads for perfumes. And that's the most creative enterprise there is in advertising. There is no category that you can go further into the poetics of visuals and symbolism and incredible visuals. I mean, maybe some extremely high-end automotive advertising, or maybe spirits.
That's cool.
Or Rolex watches. I don't know. But perfume is pure fantasy. You're not selling product.
And everyone will always buy it. It's never gonna be like, oh, it's not doing well, we're not buying perfume anymore. That would never happen.
No, it's a little luxury, sometimes a very grand luxury for some people, but it's something that speaks to emotion, and yet it's a huge money spinner. I mean, you don't see ads on TV, if anybody watches television anymore, for the fashion lines.
No.
You see it for the fragrances.
That's
because
true.
the volume is so ginormous.
It's changed so much, hasn't it? Like no one does watch TV anymore. I haven't had TV for a while. I kind of miss it. There's stuff I liked about TV, but everybody streams, so
I'm looking at streaming occasionally. I mostly read. Like everybody else, I'm addicted to Instagram. And Reels.
It's fun.
And I do look at TikTok, although it's not.
I don't know how to use that one
yet. It's
yet.
really not my thing. But Instagram,
it's fun.
I mean, social media has upended the equation. It is now, for my students who are in their early to mid-20s, it's pretty much everything. They don't watch television.
Yeah, it is
because
true.
these are film students. They do go to films, but a lot of their generation doesn't like movies.
You know what? I don't even remember the last time I went to a movie.
And well, there's probably reasons for that. And they accept everything through the palm of their hand in their phone, and that's where you have to be.
It's good and bad, don't you think? I think it's kind of good because I have a young person
There's a lot
at
of
home.
bad.
It's like a lot of bad, right?
There's a lot of addiction. I mean, I'm addicted to it. There's a lot of. If you thought advertising was fake, I mean, influencer culture,
it's really
they're all
bad.
peddling a product and being paid to do so. But we all accept that it somehow appear and it's real,
fun.
and it's very fun, especially for young people. It has credibility.
Yeah.
So it's just, pop culture, which I've been a student of and a participant in for several decades. I think of it as like a conveyor belt. It's like, hello, MTV, bye, see ya. Hi, Instagram, and it's supposed to be. That's okay.
Yeah. So I wonder what the next thing will be.
Well, there was sound.
Yeah.
There was silent films, then there was sound, there was black and white, then there was color.
Huh.
What's next? Clearly AI
Yeah.
is where we're headed in visual culture, when the area of photography and filmmaking, it's never either or. It's yes and. There'll still be organic photography, there'll still be organically produced film, but a great deal of media will be created in AI by visually literate, incredible people, because great image makers make great images. Doesn't matter what the tool is.
How are you using AI?
I'm using AI as a teaching device because
Mhm.
I want my students to get some experience with that, because clearly that is their future.
Yeah.
And to make good AI, you have to be a great photographer. You have to understand composition, color design, the history of
Yeah,
art,
you
history
have
of
to understand
photography.
even anything you're doing. You can't just be like, "Oh, AI is gonna make me look this great." It has to kind of be your thoughts and your feelings. It can't just be like AI is just gonna invent all this stuff for you, you know?
Well, AI can invent those things for you. So that's why I think that AI is so interesting. Well, first of all, it's the most powerful creative tool probably that human beings have ever created. There's nothing else like it, and the exponential growth of it the next few years will be
I
unbelievable.
like that you're a pro AI because a lot of people are not, and but you work with so many young students, so you think you're
I
kind of
have mixed feelings about it.
yeah, me
Like anything
too.
incredibly powerful, it has the ability to take us to the heights of beauty or the lowest depths of mediocrity or something in between that's just meh.
Hmm.
It depends on who's behind it and who's doing it and what their education is. So the paradox of AI creation is it lowers the bar tremendously,
Hmm.
but it also raises the bar at the same time. So anybody can make a pretty good looking image.
Right.
Then how much harder is it to make a breakthrough image that really grabs people, that really
Do you
communicates
have
and
an
speaks?
example of something you love that is an AI photo?
I don't want to mention particular artist names,
Hmm.
but I do. There are makers and creators that I follow passionately.
Hmm.
I'll say this: I have two images in a show that's up right now at the Getty,
Oh,
called
I've got to get over there.
Queer Lens. It was
Hmm.
curated by Paul Martineau in association with Ryan Linkoff.
Hmm.
It's an amazing show. It's the history of the influence of gay and queer culture,
I'm
which are
going
exactly
this
the same.
weekend. I'm gonna go.
And this is an interesting thing to the AI point. In one of the galleries, it's sort of the future of queer communication through photography. And by the way, this show is such a huge survey. It's things that are there for aesthetic reasons, for historic reasons, for political reasons. It's very, very mixed. Every single image has a fascinating caption. It takes a couple of hours to go through that show if you really read
Yeah,
everything, and it's worth doing. Anyway, there is an AI image.
really.
It looks like a straight portrait of some young Hispanic men. And this is so important. It's the first time the
Yeah.
greatest museum of photography, maybe in the world, has put an AI image in a photography show curated by the photography department, and they're not making any big deal about it. It's just there as another image. It does say in the media they call it a tombstone,
Yeah.
the credit for a
I
photograph on
that's
the
I'm
wall.
that's a lot.
Yeah,
I'm like sitting here trying to digest
the
this.
tombstone says AI image, but it's very
Well,
low key. They didn't publicize it. They didn't make any big deal about it being the first ever time they've shown an AI image in the photo department. Uh, and I think that was a definite choice on the part of Paul Martineau to
smart.
normalize it and to let it be part of our visual culture and to
Okay.
not distract
I
from
like
the
hearing
real
this.
subject of his show, which is,
Yeah.
and it was very validly part of that history. So I think now I'm just going to stop calling it photography entirely.
Really?
I'm going to call it lens-based art. Lens-based art means if it came through a lens or it looks like it came through a lens.
Mm-hmm.
So that accepts organic photography, AI, photorealist painting, which is a very inflected
Yeah.
look from photography, and many other forms. So I think it's all under the same tent of visual art that is lens-based.
Well, maybe you'll start that new lingo for this new type of art.
I'm not the first person to use
Oh,
that term
really?
at all. It's kind of being bandied about, and some of the schools right now, I can't remember which ones, but I think maybe School of Visual Arts has already used that
Huh.
language.
Well, I
I
think
forget.
it's a good way to describe it though,
We have to open the
It
door.
really is.
Yeah.
So, let's touch a little on your early influences.
Well, I'm really a child of my upbringing. I grew up in Hancock Park, which is a
Oh,
nice
nice.
part of
Were you
Los
near that where
Angeles.
the party was?
Very close,
Yeah?
actually.
What a nice area.
Yeah, very nice area, traditional area. My grandfather was a doctor,
Mhm.
a doctor to the stars. His
Even better?
clients were MGM stars, or they used to call them Metro stars.
Yeah.
So all the big stars of MGM were his private patients. And his office was in Beverly Hills, a few blocks away from the family home.
Mhm.
Also, very importantly, our home was one block from Art Center, from their original campus on 3rd Street.
Wow.
And I was the art school kid in my family. So where other kids were, your mom took you to soccer practice or tennis class or
Yeah.
whatever, I was going to art lessons,
That's good though.
piano
Yeah.
lessons, dance, drawing and painting from about age 6
Do you
onward.
play the piano?
I don't play the piano
Do
anymore,
you
but
dance?
I do not dance anymore.
You don't dance
But
anymore? You mean you did?
not in any significant way. No, but I mean, I don't go to dance class anymore. But those are all really helpful things,
Yeah.
and had look where I ended up
I know.
with music, dance, music video, dance videos, so much entertainment.
Well, you have that vibe that you come from a family of lawyers and doctors, even if you didn't tell me
Well,
that.
my dad was a business lawyer. My mom was a homemaker.
Yeah.
5 kids in my family. I was the art school kid, and my mom, who is not a fashionista, she's just a beautiful woman, wonderful woman, and she had collected some of her mom's Harper's Bazaars
So that's why that
and
was
her
your
own.
dream.
So when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, first of all, magazine culture was a big thing
It was
back then.
huge.
So our house, which is a nice sort of
Mm.
maybe upper middle class house, we weren't rich or anything, but we were comfortable, and we had Life and Look and National Geographic and the New Yorker and of course Vogue and Harper's Bazaar and McCall's, all of them.
Yeah.
But my mom had a special place in her heart
So
for
that's
Harper's
why
Bazaar
that was your dream to be in that, because your mother. That's so cool.
because of her collection, which I had my nose in. So at that young age, where other kids like maybe had favorite athletes and knew all the
Yeah.
games and scores and batting averages, I knew like every photographer credit in Harper's
Yeah.
Bazaar in the 30s and 40s. The masthead, the editors, the fashion designers, I read every
You're
bit
like,
of
that's
it.
David Bailey and Jeannie Shrimpton.
That would have been in the 60s.
And they're like,
Yeah.
who is that
No.
in America?
Yeah, that's Horst, or that's Louise Dahl Wolfe,
Yeah.
that's Lisa Fontagreves or whatever.
I had 3 sisters, so we were all about Vogue and Cosmopolitan and I love Scavullo. To this day, I love Scavullo.
I had a moment of loving Scavullo when
He was incredible.
his black and white work
Oh,
in
beautiful.
Vogue in the 70s,
Mhm.
which honestly he was imitating Richard Avedon to a great degree, but it was great, and I'll never forget some pictures that he made, a story with Renee Russo when she was 15 or something, 15 or 16, just absolutely
I love the graininess in
stunning.
his black and whites, and he did
Oh, that
so
studio
many.
work, the skin, the light, oh my
Beautiful.
God. So anyway, back to early influences. I would go to Art Center to take classes on Wednesday nights for elementary school kids. They used to have that.
Mhm.
And it was called Saturday High. I took life drawing classes there. But even before that, I think I maybe had taken 1 or 2 like craft or things for little kids.
Yeah.
I started to ride my bike over to Art Center and ditch it in the bushes and go haunt the halls of the school, which is a block from my house. Because back then, LA was a small town. There was a
Yeah.
security. And I think, honestly, what I was probably doing was trying to sneak looks at naked people in the life drawing classes.
Oh, wow.
That's probably why.
Yeah. Well,
But
at least you're honest about it.
well, look, I was a curious kid, and I think
Yeah.
the smell of linseed oil and paint and ink,
Yeah.
and it's kind of the smell of the grease paint, the roar of the crowd.
I used
was
to work
just
at a figurative
so attracted.
painting studio in Vanitas. What was it called again? And there was always people running around naked or with robes on.
Yeah.
But I wasn't trying to see. I was just thinking, how does anyone have balls to do that? Because I could never do that.
Well, God bless those people.
Do you
they're
do a
doing
lot of
something.
nudes?
I don't.
I did. I was going to say, I don't
Not
remember
at all.
seeing
That would have been
any
my friend
nudes.
Herb, pretty much.
Yeah.
I did experiment a little bit, but it wasn't my
That
thing.
wasn't your thing.
But the way you learn drawing, at least in my era, was life drawing.
Yeah.
That was how you trained your eye to see and to interpret what you saw through your hands. And I really wasn't that great at drawing. I had friends who could draw.
Can you paint?
I have drawn, I have painted, but that led me to photography, and photography was like the comfortable thing. But again, back to the influences. So besides Harper's Bazaar and going to Art Center, sneaking around, taking art lessons and dance and music, I would also get to visit my grandfather with my mom. And he, in his private office, and he was pretty retired by this
Yeah.
point, because his active period was the 30s and 40s, the height of the studio era. There were all these amazing pictures from the MGM photo studio that were gifts to him from those stars, and they were in elaborate like glass Lalique frames and desks, tables
Nice.
all around the office. And they were pictures of like, the most flawless complexion face next to a giant orchid in black and white with the most incredible lighting. And that had a huge influence. And I didn't know what I was looking at. Later, I learned that those were the photographs of George Hurrell and later Lasse Willinger,
Beautiful.
who were the MGM photographers at that time. But I did discover that. So, uh, and then I loved Charles Addams cartoons. That was my favorite storybook. Okay.
Yeah.
There was one that was, it's Pugsley and Wednesday have maniacal looks on their face, and they're building a roaring fire in the ruined, cracking, cobweb-strewn main parlor. And like Granny's up on the rafters, like chewing on the. And Morticia and Gomez are standing in the doorway, looking lovingly at their children, and the caption is, "Oh, the little darlings, they still believe in Santa Claus." They're building the roaring fires is fantastic. So that dark humor, kind of twisted sense of humor, elegance of Harper's Bazaar, photographic history, George Hurrell, naked people at Art Center.
This is all
This
like
is all-
LA centric stuff,
This- this is a-
Hollywood's. So that's how, because LA shaped your career so much. Because I know you spent a lot of time in New York, but a lot of the things you describe are so Hollywood and like vintage Hollywood.
They're
and-
so Hollywood. But
Yeah.
you know what else? I hated LA.
Did you?
Growing up here, it was so bleak. I mean, there was no culture here. It was really of the type I was interested in. I mean, I was fantasizing. I wish I could go back, time travel, and be in the shadows of the MGM Portrait Gallery with George
Right.
Hurrell, or if I could go in the 30s. I was always very interested in the 30s, late 30s, and be in Chanel's studio in Paris. Or, LA was a backwater.
Yeah.
The fanciest restaurant my parents took us to was called Ma Maison, which was
What was
Wolfgang
that?
Puck's first restaurant. And it was like a little house on Melrose, and it had
Oh, that sounds
astroturf and
familiar.
plastic furniture.
Oh,
And for a kid dreaming of like the glamour of the 30s, I just thought LA was horrible. And I couldn't wait to get out of there. And
I don't remember that restaurant.
I dreamt of going to New York and Paris.
Yeah,
And I ended up getting to do those things. But then I came back here,
you
and
willed it.
I love it here now. This is the most amazing state I wouldn't live in.
I love it here too. I've moved away twice and I keep coming back. So let's talk about, I wanted to talk about how Andy Warhol found you and gave you because that kind of, I think, is your big break, right?
It
The Andy
was,
Warhol's
absolutely.
period. So how did that come about?
It's kind of a long story. I'll try to shorten it. But I was going to Art Center as a photo major, and I had my magazine dreams, spurred by childhood and Harper's Bazaar and all those things I said. My older brother, Dean, was already in New York, and he had established an art gallery, a very cool upstart gallery in Soho, when Soho was really the Wild West.
Mhm.
And his friends were, Andy and the circle around Andy and the factory, and a lot of artists who were emerging that later became incredibly famous. And he was very much on the downtown scene. So I would go to New York every break from school, if there was a holiday weekend or summer break or Christmas, whatever, and I'd sleep on the floor of his loft, or if I was lucky on the couches, that the couch was available. And I would meet people in magazines. I would just go knock on doors, and I wasn't getting very far, but I got to meet everybody at Interview and everybody at the factory, because Andy loved very attractive young men.
Yeah.
That's no big secret.
Mhm.
And so there was a kind of entourage that followed him to his various events, and he'd go to like 6 or 8 events a night,
Yeah.
all ending up at Studio 54. Well, I got to be the little kid, following my brother on those kinds of excursions, including going to Studio 54
Oh, it's
Which
I'm so bummed I never got to do that.
in the first real incarnation.
Yeah, no,
the real
there's
54.
yeah, I missed it. I missed out.
I mean, I saw the moon and the spoon and all those, all the famous things. And so the people at the magazine knew who I was. Andy had met me. I was Dean's little brother, the photo kid from
Mhm.
LA. And they needed something to be shot in Los Angeles. And the one photographer that they trusted in LA refused to do it. He was having a tiff with the art director because they'd cropped a picture incorrectly or something that he'd done. I think it was a picture of Cher, actually,
Oh, was
funnily enough. So a friend of mine said,
and you're not going to tell us who the photographer was?
No. A friend of
Are they
mine,
still with us?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Can I guess?
I haven't talked to them in years. People in New York, let's get Matt, Dean's little brother.
Okay.
See if he'll do it. So
Wow.
I was still going to
Andy
Art
said
Center.
that?
Probably Bob.
Yeah.
Bob Colacello probably said that. I don't think Andy would have been that involved at that point. So my very first editorial assignment of any note was a portrait of Steven Spielberg.
Whoa.
Not a bad beginning. Although
Not bad at all.
let's say this, he was a hot young director, but he wasn't
Mhm.
Steven Spielberg
Yeah.
yet. He had just done Jaws, which is an enormous hit, and Close Encounters was about to come out, hadn't yet come out.
Yeah.
And so that was the beginning. And then they asked me to do more and more. And then next to New York, I met them and more people, and they got to know me. And over the years, I did a lot of covers and a lot of big stories through several different editorships, and back and forth. I worked for Bob as the editor. I worked for Robert Hayes. I worked for Gail Love. I worked for Ingrid Sishi, some really great people.
Yeah.
That's how it started with Interview. And Interview was really, I mean, there weren't that many media outlets for cool photography.
It's sad that those magazines are all gone too, like
Well, Interview still with
I know,
us.
but like a lot of the good ones are gone, like is it Harper's is even
Harper's Bazaar and Vogue are very much alive.
I don't ever see Harper's anywhere.
I don't think much of them, to be honest.
I don't ever see it on a magazine stand. I don't see anything about it.
It's there, but the dominance in culture is much reduced, which is sad to me.
And they're all smaller. They just aren't the same. They're not as
well. They're not making any money. How can they be the
like
same?
even the LA Times is smaller than it used to be.
Print is on its way out, and okay, the first semester I taught at ArtCenter because we were teaching a class that revolves around fashion, beauty, and luxury, and a lot of these students aren't really that, like, they never heard of Richard Avedon. Okay.
Yeah.
And why should they? They're 24. So I said, you got to go and buy Vogue and Bazaar, the American editions, for the 3 months of the class. They aren't the most innovative. They're not Italian Vogue, but I want you to understand the mainstream of fashion publishing. And they came back, this is 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and they said, oh, this is so cool. I never bought a magazine before.
Isn't that crazy?
And my brain partially exploded. Okay. But then I had to come to grips with, this is a new media generation. It's just different.
It's all on, they look at it online. Like when I see stuff for Vogue, it's usually online.
Yeah. So I think we have to accept that the era of print is dead, long live print. Let me explain that statement. Yes, the mainstream titles, the middle of it all, is going to become a completely digital experience or an experiential experience like Vogue World or the Met Gala. These are events that bring that brand of Vogue to young people. Picking up the magazine, not so much. I think that those great legacy titles, this is just my opinion, nobody cares what I think, should completely shutter their print editions as they stand now. They should put all of their investment into the digital sphere and events. And on top of that, they should return to publishing and publish quarterly or twice a year an incredibly deluxe volume with only like no ads for toothpaste. Okay.
Yeah.
Only like the most up there brands. And it should cost $50. Ezra Petronio already does this. Ezra Petronio is one of my favorite fashion creative directors. He has an agency in Paris. He does great work for Saint Laurent, all of them, and he has his own magazine for many years now. It's called Self-Service.
I love those beautiful luxury magazines.
So beautiful, small production magazines. I think that the big titles should take a leaf from that.
Well, they have to do something.
And elevate and become incredibly collectible. And don't try to pander to the middle. Go for the highest of the high. That's what they always stood for anyway. And let the middle part of your business be an online business, which it already is going that way. So I don't see a lot of life left for like the newsstand version of those titles. Could they elevate to something else? I really hope that they do, because I love photography and I love the printed page.
I know it's sad how things are going away. TV's going away and print's going away. It's just changing to be so online,
The thing that I regret is not that the media platforms are changing. It's that I'm not seeing fascinating imagery coming from the influencers. It's very, I looked at a cosmetic company that wanted me to consider working for them as a creative director, not as a photographer, because I don't do that anymore. And I looked at their Instagram, which is, of course, where most of the marketing is. And every single one was a sort of attractive young person in front of a mirror, putting on makeup, the latest product, and extolling its use. And they're all the same. With the ring light, the mirror, in the bathroom. It's like, I'm bored senseless after 1 second. It's junk.
Well,
Uh,
couldn't you vamp it up for them?
well, I think the way to vamp it up, not just for them, but for everyone, is probably AI imagery.
Mm.
That's so at a certain point, influencer imagery and influencer selling is just going to burn itself out. Just like all pop culture does, it has to
Yeah.
change. I think the
Yeah.
next thing is to fall in love with imagery again.
Yeah.
And I think AI is probably how we're going to get there. I honestly suspect that. Seeing somebody putting on makeup in a mirror and telling me how great that eyebrow pencil is, I mean, I'm not the core audience, but there's only so much appeal. And that just has to change. It will change.
Yeah. Do we have a good disaster story?
Well, disaster stories are the great stories.
Yeah.
When everything goes perfectly, that's like, who cares, right?
Yeah.
But I can remember a shoot where I was sent to a Caribbean island to shoot a cosmetic campaign, print and TV. And they wanted this to be at a house perched on a hill with an infinity pool and a Caribbean sunset behind that. That's not a hard, that is not an easy thing to line up.
Okay.
You need to know exactly when the sun's going to set and be there at that moment and be, it's a lot, okay? And also, at that time of the year when they wanted to do the shoot, it was like 100 degrees with 100% humidity in the island that they wanted to go to, which was in the British Virgin Islands. And I said to the agency, this doesn't make sense. We need to do this on a stage with a painted backdrop or a photographic translite backdrop and build a set and build a pool, do all these things where we have control, because otherwise, literally, you're going to put the makeup on the model's face and it's going to drip
Melt
down to
off.
one big drop on her chin.
Yeah, that's me at home right now.
So that is actually what did happen. But worse than that, we were at the exact right moment. We finally managed to get all the elements together. The makeup was sticking to her face and roll camera. And suddenly, out of nowhere, a tropical storm arrived, a squall. Lightning cracked. All of our electricity went down, all the lights. And there was a big sort of pink wall with bougainvillea that needed to be, there was a set wall on the edge of a cliff. And the wind came up and blew the set down the cliff.
You didn't get anything.
We ended up shooting in a stage in
Yeah.
LA, just like I said.
Oh.
But I remember I had quit smoking and I said, somebody give me a frickin' cigarette right now. It was bad. And then other people, I mean, look, being a performer isn't easy. I have a lot of empathy for that. And to be on the hot seat, to be judged by your appearance, your behavior, what you do with your body, your voice, that's not easy.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And for people who are insecure, which is many,
Yeah.
because there's that Hollywood saying, if you must be loved by millions, you must have a problem being loved by one. So there's a lot of,
I've never even heard that
there's a
saying.
lot
That's
of
good.
lot of neediness there to being famous.
Yeah.
And I can remember a certain star who should remain nameless who went into his dressing room and barricaded the door and sobbed loudly for 3 hours and would not come out and do the shoot. We had a crew of 50 people and all these things waiting. Morrissey.
Oh
And,
my
I mean,
God.
are you shocked? No.
No.
But then,
pride? That's like,
yeah, but then he came out and gave the most heartfelt performance and it was worth it. So, that's okay.
Well, he's having a bad day.
Well, Morrissey,
I wouldn't want anyone telling that story about me. So I just
Morrissey
get
always
on
had a
with it
bad
and then
day.
go home. Yeah, right.
That's his art.
Yeah.
That's his art.
I love his music.
I love it too.
I love
And it
his
was a
music.
very meaningful video that
What
had to
happened?
do with.
Where is he?
I don't know where
I haven't
Morrissey
seen
is
any
today.
Morrissey lately.
I will say this. Someone can be the most wonderful human being on earth. I'm talking about performers in front of my camera. And if I look at that monitor and they're just flatlining and I can't get anything, I freaking hate them.
Uh-oh.
And you could be the most horrible, toxic human being on earth. And when that monitor is going and that camera's rolling and it's magic, I love you, I love you, I love you.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, so once in a while, you get gifted with someone that is both. Examples would be Beyonce or Lenny Kravitz, people who are or Jewel, people I've worked with many times, who are wonderful human beings with so much to give and such secure bases of real, not fake confidence, the real kind that's just for real.
Yeah.
They're just solid citizens and they're funny and smart and great and they have so much to give in front of the camera and they're gorgeous, they're everything. So, that's the greatest. That's like ding, ding, ding.
So you shifted from editorial to advertising to music videos. And so did you leave the others behind just to focus on the music videos?
It was a progression. I think it's a little bit like a tree that has roots and then it has more branches and more leaves. It was all the same stuff, just more flowering. But I got to a point, remember, editorial advertising jobs like Revlon or whatever, or L'Oréal, Harper's Bazaar editorials, music video for Beyonce or whomever. These are commissioned by other people to serve their many other purposes. I have a lot of personal commentary in there. A lot of myself is in it,
Yeah.
but it's not purely me. And people would come up to me in those successful years and they'd say, "Oh, we love your editorial photography. But what's your personal like? What's your personal body of work?" I didn't have one. And I was taken aback. I'm like, this is pretty personal.
Yeah.
But then that kind of filtered and sunk in. And I think it's probably just getting older, the aging process, and you realize you only have so much time left. And I thought, is this my legacy? 100 Rolling Stone covers, you know,
Which
200
still
cosmetic
isn't bad.
commercials. No, it's not bad.
It's
It's
good.
great. It's a great privilege. But I want to do something more
Mm-hmm.
meaningful. I want to make a personal commentary. So I ventured into my first self-assigned project, a fine art project, conceptual project that was a group of portraits, if you will, of ventriloquism dummies. Close-ups, very influenced by Irving Penn and Avedon, because they were cruel, like the Avedon later portraits, every, not wrinkle, but like crack and flaking bit of paint. Square format, close to the face, cropping off the top of the head. That's very Penn. Also very Andy Warhol. Square portraits that are colorful on a plain background. Andy? I am absolutely a child of my influences.
Yeah.
But what I was really doing with that project wasn't an interest in, they call them ventriloquial figures. I'm not interested in ventriloquism. I'm interested in how we imbue our life into images they're called simulacra, human simulacra. When you look at a Hollywood photograph or a performance on screen or in another setting, you look at it, on the altar, the statue of Christ on the cross or an ordination hall at Buddha, you project your life into that object. That's what we do without even realizing it. That's part and parcel of Hollywood. I can remember a character played by Meryl Streep, August Osage County.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Like, I'm still worried about that lady. Okay? That was a projection of light and shadow and sound on a wall. That wasn't human, but I put my life into it. I invested my identification in that character, in that portrayal. That's what we do. So I wanted to find a subject conceptually that brought all of that together. And think about it. A dummy is not a human, but we believe that it's real and alive. The person creating it is the ventriloquist who writes a dialogue for two, but he does or she does the voices and puts their hand in the cavity of the thing and makes it move. Talk about a God complex.
Right.
And the audience suspends their disbelief and believes that it is a real human being or a real being.
That's so deep though, Matthew. Like, I think so, like the average person is like, even with Vanitas, it's like they're both like not, I don't want to say creepy, but they're spooky. Clowns are known to be kind of spooky. Ventriloquists are kind of weirdos that, it's like, they're like,
I'm aware of that.
your perspective, where
There's
your
a strategy
perspective
here.
is. I know, but you're so deep that I don't think the average person will get that, like somebody that's not as intelligent as you are.
Well, first of all, I don't think I'm very intelligent.
I think you are.
But I'll say this. When I went to art school, they said, never paint clowns or dead people
Oh, no.
if you want to sell paintings, okay? So clearly,
You went for both.
I went for both. And I am choosing heated subject matter,
Mm-hmm.
handling it in a visually, hopefully exciting way
Yes.
to create fascination. And then hopefully the viewer scratches their head and is curious about why.
Yeah.
Like you're asking that question. And then we can start to have the dialogue about the concept behind it. If that isn't immediately apparent to people, that's okay. The artist can speak on its
For
own.
me, I feel like it's about your own personal fate. That's what I see in this.
Vanitas is a conceptual project. Well, what really unites my personal projects, what I actually now know is my subject, is human imagination.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes us human. That is the thing that makes us most human. We're mammals. We're animals. Some of us are more animal than others.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of you. But on the animal front. But I think more seriously, what separates us, the divine spark, if you will, and I am not religious, but I am very spiritual. I don't believe in religions, but I believe in God, 100%. I think that is our divine spark. So think about human culture. Time, money, language, nationality, religion. These are things that humans created purely out of their imagination. They're very real. I'm not saying money is not real. It's all too real.
Yeah.
But it isn't empirically real.
I know. I always wonder what would happen if there was no time. Like
Well,
who
our
did?
perception of time is a very human, very
It's
non-objective.
annoying time. There's not enough ever.
But time is not linear.
Yeah.
As we can all know from memory experiences, many other kinds of experiences. So I wanted to kind of explore human imagination. So part of human imagination, the most basic level to me, was projection into simulacra by looking at my own work, what I'd done. I created simulacra for people to project into. I want to explore that on a conceptual level. The next project was about art making, and that's called Art People. And that's photographs, portraits again, on a grand scale this time, like 8 feet high resolution, of people from the Laguna Beach pageant of the Masters who are fully costumed, and they are painted into sets that they literally, it's called tableau vivant.
Yeah.
They embody
I'm
literally
finally going
works
to
of
that
art.
soon. It's
Oh,
happening
it's
now.
great.
Yeah, I haven't been yet. Do you know what's really funny that you brought that up? Remember you did the book signing with that book at the Pendry? And I went there to see, you invited me to come, and at the end I was trying to get maybe, I don't know, a book signed or buy a book or whatever. And there were 2 microphones set up like this, and I sat down next to you, and I'm like, oh good, it looks like I'm interviewing Matthew Rolston.
That's funny.
I'm like, yes.
Oh, your
a couple
memory's
years
funny.
later,
That's
it's
pretty
really
funny.
happening. I willed it.
You
Yeah.
did. So that was about art making, and art making is definitely, I mean,
Yeah.
talk about human
Well, you're an
imagination.
artist. You're a true artist. You can tell in the way you talk and your home and your books and your
Thank you.
work. And I mean, you're just a true artist.
Well, thank you. Vanitas, the newest project, which is going to launch
I'm so
this
excited
fall.
to host part of that.
Thank you
Let's
very
talk about
much.
that.
That's going to be a big effort. That show is going to be literally spread across the city of Los Angeles in 4 venues, starting at Art Center. So it starts off in an institutional setting. The next stop, and these are all different pieces. It's
Yeah, I
not
know.
a show that's
I'm
traveling.
so excited to see
Each
them all.
venue has different pieces. The next place is Fahey Klein. The next place after that is a new museum that's about to open, Daido Moriyama
Which is
Museum,
gorgeous. I got to
which
see
is
Pete.
part of the Daido Moriyama Foundation. If those of you who aren't familiar with Daido Moriyama, he's in his 80s. He's one of the greatest photographers ever of Japan. The 3 greats in photography of Japan of his generation are Daido Moriyama, Hiroshi Sugimoto, an art center graduate, and Araki.
Of course.
Okay, so they are starting a foundation space called the Daido Moriyama Museum / Daido Star Space. And they're going to kick it off with an exhibition of 1 image and a book signing and a book launch. And then our last stop of our little tour is at Leica with this fabulous person who has made a space for photography and photographers to come together on the West Coast. And I always tell Paris that she's like a saloniste. It's in the French tradition of bringing creative people together to exchange. It's a wonderful feeling. If you haven't had a chance to go to any of the events that are held at Leica, it's a place that loves photography.
That's a great compliment. And when you told me that, I almost started crying because I thought that coming from you, that was like, it really meant something, you know. But the thing is that even just on a daily basis, it's like that. There'll be somebody having a meeting on the patio, then there'll be somebody hanging art, and there'll be somebody else trying to show
I
photos.
had that exact experience.
It's just like so great.
I came to see you to show you something, and there was exactly that. A wonderful photographer who I knew, who knew me from way back when, was hanging a show. Out on the terrace was somebody else that you had brought me to meet, another fabulous photographer. And it's just a very unique place for photography.
You never know who's going to show up there. That's how this whole podcast came about. My producer came in. He's like, do you talk to people like this all the time? I'm like, yeah, all the time. So that's what we were trying to do.
Paris, you're kind of a den mother of photographers.
Oh, I like that.
I mean that as a
being
compliment.
I don't mind being a den mother. I am a mother. I'm a dog mom, and I have a son. So being a mother's part of my nature now. You know,
well, there's a nurturing...
I'm not always dressed like a flapper.
There's a nurture or Cher. There's a nurturing atmosphere at Leica, and Leica doesn't just show photography shot with a Leica camera. It's open to the whole world of photographic image making, which is just a beautiful thing that you do there. So I'm so proud to be there.
Proud to have you.
In between these 3 personal projects, the dummies for talking heads, the art people in costume and makeup who are portraying works of art, and the mummies, dummies and mummies. In between those 2, there were 2 retrospective exhibitions. One of my work from the 80s, it's called Hollywood Royale, out of the School of Los Angeles. So 30 years later, I did a compendium of my greatest hits of the 80s. It goes from 79 to 91. The idea is like a decade kind of spills over like a bucket of water a little bit on either
Yeah.
side. So there's that. That was a major exhibition that traveled all over the world. There were 60 prints in the exhibition, a beautiful book, and a video as well. And
And didn't the Getty purchase some of those?
the Getty acquired 20 pieces from
That
that
was
collection for their
amazing.
permanent
Yeah.
collection. Thank you to Paul Martineau, who is another great figure of photography and photography influence in Los Angeles. Very important person who I respect so much. And then the other editorial retrospective was actually came a little bit before that. It's called Beauty Light Pictures at a Magazine. That was a compendium of the who's who, this time of the 90s. So this is Penelope Cruz and Angelina Jolie and
All the ugly girls,
Salma Hayek and Lenny Kravitz
including
and
her.
Ethan, all the gorgeous young
Yeah, no, they're like the
people.
most beautiful women in the
So I
world.
had several decades of really getting people at the peak of their moments,
Nice.
at their prime moments, and doing hopefully images that are indelible and really represent them well in those moments. And when I did Beauty Light, I didn't do an exhibition on purpose because I just felt at that time like Herb Ritz and I were kind of pioneers in putting editorial photography in an art gallery. That had never really been done before. And I felt by the 90s and late 90s, like been there, done that. It doesn't feel fresh
That'd be
anymore.
nice now.
It might be.
It'd be considered vintage now,
yeah,
so
it would
that's
be.
really what sells the
Well,
most
maybe
right now.
that will happen later. But
Mhm.
so instead I created a huge overscale volume, a book. And instead of a show, there was this very deluxe, overscale, huge, gorgeous book from Tenoyes in Germany.
Nice.
And that's how I memorialize that period. So it's kind of an alternation between digging up my past, my retrospectives, and creating brand new work. Vanitas is a piece, again, about imagination, but now it's about death anxiety. Our anxiety about death, at least in Western culture.
Which it gets greater and greater every year that passes. So I've been noticing.
That's a good point, because why this, why now? I'm not going to say the age, except I'm very old, and I'm about to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from ArtCenter. So this is a right time.
Which you deserve.
Thank you. A right time in my life to do a really serious project. And this is about the fact that we don't really know why we're here, where we came from, or where we're going. The Pope says he knows. But to me, not being religious, no disrespect to anyone who is.
Pope Leo said that, or all the popes?
All the popes. I'm just saying a pope.
The
Pope says he knows. But I don't really think anybody knows.
Nobody
No
knows.
one's been to heaven or hell and come back and told us what it was.
So
it's highly theoretical. It's imaginative to protect us against the fear of the unknown. Now, other cultures, Hinduism, Buddhism, have a whole other approach. The Eastern side of the world historically accepts death as a natural cycle.
What do you think
karma.
happens?
I don't venture a guess, except that I would say, to me, God is good.
Yeah,
So
I think we become spirits and we don't
There's
die.
an energy.
Yeah.
And my job is to channel that energy. That's what I've been chosen by the universe for God to do. And to me, God is add one more O. Like, I believe in good.
Good. Yeah,
that's
what my church teaches. It's about being a good person. Let me ask you this question. Being Matthew Rolston in this life, what's the one thing that you are you identify with the most as the most important thing that you are and are most proud of?
Well, I mean, my life is largely about the work. At this moment, my life is a lot about focusing energy on people other than myself, which I didn't know when I was young, but I now know is the only way to truly be happy, is to do for others, to be of service. So that's my teaching. But I would say that the thing that unites my work, besides explorations of imagination, is that if you look at one of my images, or a hotel that I did the creative direction for, or a music video, or whatever it is, commercial, whatever the form is, I want to engender a specific feeling. It's highly romantic, and it's being excited and relaxed at the same time. What does that remind you of?
I think that reminds me of getting older.
Excited and relaxed at the same time?
Yeah.
Well, it reminds
because I'm, when you're young, you're so excited, but it's hard to be relaxed, But...
Well, what I'm getting at is infatuation.
Oh.
When you start to fall in love with somebody, and you're with that special person, you're so excited. You're like a
Yeah.
tuning
It's
fork.
been so long, I forgot about that
But
feeling.
when it's the right
Damn.
person,
Yeah.
there's that oneness that you're so in the
I
right
want to feel
place.
like that. I want to be
Who
infatuated.
doesn't want to feel like that?
I don't know.
So if I can,
Weirdos.
if you're able to be with that person that you're fascinated by, and it's reciprocated, and you're excited and relaxed because you know it's the right thing at the right time, and you have the equivalent of a cold glass of champagne, or if you don't drink, whatever, but that's a feeling,
Yeah. Well,
and
you're
that's the
in
feeling.
love, right?
I have a wonderful partner. That's the feeling that
Yeah.
unites the work. Even in scary work like Vanitas, there is a kind of, there's a French word, a frisson, an energy, a bubbly excitement, and sometimes there's a lot of contradiction.
Yeah.
This piece is very much about that because it's beautiful and it's grotesque at the same
It's
time.
a beautiful book. We'll be selling this book at Leica Gallery LA, and Matthew will be there doing a talk
And signing the
and
book.
book signing on Sunday, October 26th, right?
Yeah, just in time for Halloween.
That's the week before Halloween. So we're doing a 1-week pop-up with one amazing photo to see, and Matthew will be there with me. It's going to be a beautiful day, and we'll have some champagne, and we hope you can come.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I am so glad we did this, aren't you? Where can we see more of your work? What's your website that people can go?
In the show notes, we will share a bunch of links
Mm-hmm.
to each of my exhibitions has a unique website.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll also share a link to the class at ArtCenter called The Power of Pleasure, so you can see how that translates into student work of the next generation.
And I'm going to be at all of these events. So are other people able to go to these events, or are these private events, or are these?
They're all open to the public.
See,
every
you
single
guys
one.
have to see these. I can't wait to see everything.
The only one that requires an RSVP.
I'm a Matthew Rolston groupie now.
The only one that requires an RSVP is the exhibition at ArtCenter. All the rest, you just come.
Okay, so we're going to have everything listed at the end of the show. We're so glad you listened. What a treat. Hello, you're welcome.
What a treat to photography is this woman. What a gift.
Oh,
thank you.
you. Thank you for listening to the Paris Chong Show. We'll see you next time. It's the Paris Chong Show. It's the Paris Chong Show, show. It's the Paris Chong Show. It's the Paris Chong Show, show. Sit down and chat for a while. Tell me everything you know. Let's be naughty